women, and this is a little bit up for grabs because it is a little bit gory. I guess some could call it art with the foot binding that they did, but it was a little bit more controversial than that. Just to say, oh, it was so beautiful and it was art, but yeah, not so great there. But also, yeah, those are the main achievements of the Tang and Song Dynasty here in conclusion. So Tang and Song Dynasty, the early period was in the whole period of the Tang and Song Dynasty was in China, but now we move to Japan. Japan geography was pretty tough, but it also had its advantages. It had plentiful rainfalls and warm summers, access to the ocean, which helped as a source of protection from invaders, access to trade as a source of food. An archipelago was an obstacle to unification, though that was the problem. It was very mountainous with small amounts of land, only flat enough for farming, so they couldn't make too much food. Approximately 150 volcanoes, half of which are active on the archipelago of islands, and Earth's crust near Japan is very unstable, causing frequent earthquakes and occasional tidal waves and tsunamis. As you can imagine, you remember the tsunami just happened recently, like 10 or so years ago in Japan. That was a pretty big deal. Now, Shintoism, that was the first original religion in Japan. Here's some of the stuff they do. They honor natural phenomena, humans, and innate objects through kami, which are spirits that animate all life. The Shinto consists of rituals for the well-being of the community. It's all about the community. Shrines are home to the kami, and a torii is an archway that separates everyday space for the sacred space where it could pray and meditate. And the big thing about Shintoism is they have some very key and important rituals. The purification of the hands and the mouth, the call for the kami's attention, good luck charms, written petitions, pray for good health, children, and schools. But for purification, they most often use water and fire to kind of purify themselves in some way or another. Now we get to the next part of the Japan religion, and a lot of people did that. And it's Zen Buddhism. It's all about meditation and prayer. It came to Japan from China in the 1100s AD, of course. It emphasized seeking one's Buddha through meditation. It was all about staying in the present, rather than letting the mind wander to thoughts of the past or the future. So, for example, if you were writing something down, you couldn't think, oh, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? You got to think, what are you writing down? What are you going to say next? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can't have your mind wander. You're going to be very focused all the times. And so it's all about monks writing down very key things. And if you remember, we were watching a video on this in class. This may jog your memory because it was a pretty memorable thing that we saw. And it was all about staying so focused that there was a bunch of monks meditating like this, right? And they were all in a crouched down position. And the head monk would come around and crack them on their backs with a big wooden stick to help them stay focused. So that's pretty much where their mind was at. And it was really quite incredible because you were just like, whoa, they are very serious about this. And yes, they were. There is no doubt about that. Yeah, so another important thing that came through with Japan is selective borrowing. They borrowed the best parts of other cultures such as China, and they borrowed things from China such as their government, arts, and writing systems. So that was something that was pretty critical that allowed them to succeed and to grow. And they implemented that during the Heian period. The Heian period was all about a strong central government with a court and high society that arose. The Tale of Genji also arose during that period. It was the very first novel ever written. It was a classic work of Japanese literature written by the noblewoman Murasaki Shikibu. It was called the world's first novel and was written by a woman, so that's pretty cool. Feminist out there, I guess. I don't know. And the Pillow Book was a book that emerged later on describing life in the emperor's court. So that Heian period of strong central government, emperor, etc., that all kind of disintegrated later on into feudal Japan, where large landowners with their private armies became more powerful. And those private armies were pretty much those private armies were all about the samurai. They were the samurai. Feudalism developed and power shifts away from the emperor and the court to the shogun, the military commander, the dictator who runs the show, and the daimyo, and by extension, the samurai, the daimyo, were the lords. And here's how the social structure worked. The emperor, he was at the top, but he was largely a puppet. He really had no political power. That led down the shogun, who was the actual ruler, really running things. He ran the show, quote-unquote. The daimyo, which are the large landowners, and the samurai were the special class of warriors loyal to the daimyo. Then there's the artisans, peasants, and merchants, who all were kind of equal. The peasants, well, they're peasants. And the merchants were the lowest status, but gradually gained more influence. And the artisans made swords and armor for the samurai class, so they were kind of needed and very important. So samurai class, once again, class of warriors that served the lords, the daimyo, who had all the power in the situation. The code of Bushido was what the samurai had to follow. They were the code of respect that preached loyalty to the daimyo, and the samurai were forced to follow. So it was about being loyal and never letting down your squad, your fam, and your leader, the lord and the daimyo. So, all right, let's go over review podcast today. Also, something worth reviewing is reviewing that blank map, of course, and I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if it was a little rambling. I know it was a little bit longer than my old one, but yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and hope you do well on the test, everyone. Thank you very much for listening.
Today's sales leaders face a difficult task, selling the right products at the right time through the right channels. A new 3-day program from Harvard Business School Executive Education addresses this problem directly. Join us on the Boston campus in August for Managing Sales Teams and Distribution Channels, where you will discover strategies that can lead to the best sales performance. Learn more by clicking the banner or visiting hbs.me/sales. That's hbs.me/sales.